Top of the day to you, my loves. I hope you are well. It is Friday, May 6th, 2:22 a.m. And it was 10 seconds on the clock when I glanced at it. I'm sitting here twisting my hair. I've calmed down a little bit. Tears aren't flowing anymore. But as I'm twisting my hair, of course I'm thinking. And I'm like, okay. I always ask myself questions. I gotta get to the why. And ego death, surrender, letting go. All those words are synonymous to me for the same thing, which is going into the pain. I was sitting here like, when you come across something and you're intuitively guided to watch some things, and they talk about surrendering and spirituality, they say ego death, dark night of the soul, right? In religious aspects, they say give it over to God. They say lay your burdens down, right? On the streets, they say it is what it is, right? And so I'm like, what does that mean to my life? Because in the beginning of my journey, when they were talking about, even in the Bible, when they were talking about burdens, I didn't know what burdens, like the definition of what burdens were. Because I'm like, if I knew what the heck burdens was, I'd put them down. I really would. No one wants to carry burdens that makes them feel like crap, right? So even in the beginning of this journey, this aspect of my life, spirituality, my divine path, what I am called to do, what I am divinely led to do, right? It's like, put your burdens down. And I'm like, what burdens am I carrying? What burdens? I didn't quite understand what they meant by burdens. And just in case you don't, let me define it from my perspective. Burdens are things that you take on that have nothing to do with you. They are not your issues. They're not your problems. They are other people's issues and other people's problems. But you carry them. That is a burden. You carry their problems. By whichever way it may mean, you may carry it mentally, physically, emotionally. And if you're doing either one of them, you're definitely carrying it spiritually, just so you know, whether you know it or not. If you're anything like me, you have carried a lot of people's burdens. And you have done so in all aspects of your life, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. You have done so. That has been a burden. It doesn't matter what you've done if they were not your problems, if they were not your issues, and you intervened in any way, you carry that burden for that particular person, just so you know that. And when I got that understanding, and understanding, I was floored. And I really didn't see it from a perspective as a burden. First of all, I didn't understand, or overstand what a burden was. But secondly, it just wasn't so to me at the time. right? And it really didn't click until along this journey, what, last year, I believe it was, when I called an ex of mine and he brought light to something. And I recorded our conversation because it had to deal with, people around me. So I recorded the conversation and he said something that struck me as so profound. And while he was talking, I peeped over to the person's house that I was at and I seen her make a face. So that was like another red flag. All this time I had been putting together the red flags. I have been piecing them together, but it take me a minute because I get why. And so that leads me to, okay, so what do they mean by surrender, right? So now we got the understanding of what a burden is. Okay, we all want to help people in need. That's what we're here for. That's what we do. But at a point in time, it becomes self sacrificial. And at that point, it is no longer of God. Okay? If you're religious, look at it as if Jesus already did that part. Okay? He sacrificed his life for you. Not for you to go ahead and sacrifice your life for. No, because everybody on this planet, whether they believe or they don't believe, if you're religious or if you're atheist, whatever you don't, it doesn't matter. But say you believe that, right? So that means whether people, that's what the Bible teach. The Bible teach it doesn't, Jews and Gentiles, right? That's what the Bible teach. So that means every man walking this earth is covered. So they have their own life, right? Okay. You with me? Okay, cool beans. Cool beans. Okay. So at some point in time, you are going to have to allow those that create their problems to deal with their problems. Cause you got problems yourself, and you don't even realize and understand and understand. Please know that in my confessions there are lessons, but I'm hoping that you see yourself in what I am saying, so you do not repeat the longevity of these lessons as I have. Okay, and so once I understood and understood and overstood what they meant by surrender, and I'm just now figuring that part out because I'm like, after I made that last video, the first blackout video, I'm like, okay, after my process, one of them is, once I, have that emotional moment, I like to think why, because I'm already gauging what I'm feeling and why am I feeling this and what are the thoughts that are actually going through my head and vice versa and et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, I know why I have yet, and I'm just now realizing this, so bear with me. I got the thought that I run from pain. I do. I don't like pain in any form, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. I don't like it. But who does? I mean, you may have some, what is it, S&M folk that get off on that, but I don't know if that's the right, is it? There are some people that, let me just say, because people who enjoy pain are not always into that stuff, but anyway, some people do enjoy pain. Now I will say there's a certain kind of pain, like when I go to the get my feet done and they gotta dig in your feet. It's a little painful, but it's not painful. It's very satisfactory to me. I don't know why. It's like, and if they don't do it, then I'm like, I didn't get a pedicure. But anywho, I don't know why I said that part. Yeah. So I'm sitting here And I'm like, God, ancestors, my spiritual guides, are y'all listening? Because I want to surrender. I just don't know how. Please show me how. Please tell me how. Please give me an inspiration, an idea, a thought, a synchronicity, something. And the thing about it though is when I have that thought, I reparent myself and I correct myself and I'm like, just keep doing what you're doing. Focus on healing yourself, mentally, physically. And I'm struggling with the physical part because it's anywho, that's a whole nother video. But and so I know to do that. Even when I struggle, I know to keep moving forward and to keep those things ahead. And when I feel, 9 times out of 10 when I feel it, I'm able to, I can talk myself down. But it seems like every once in a while, and it doesn't seem every once in a while, maybe like once every 2 months, once every 3 months. But I cry all the time, though. I do. I cry all the time. And they be happy tears, so don't get me wrong. I don't just be crying sad tears. I cry happy tears. I really do. I really do. I like beautiful things. I do. In all ways. I like to see beautiful gestures. I like to hear when people are happy. It makes me happy. I like to see when people are surprised because it makes me surprised. It makes me feel what they're feeling. So lately I've been watching things like that, but I've also been watching things where people reveal themselves, their vulnerability. And it makes me, it's this, they said the word chick is disrespectful, I guess. I don't know. But I used to say, hey, chickadee, hey, chick. I like saying chick, but But anyway, it's this lady on YouTube and she asks strangers questions. And so I've been like watching those in lieu of watching tarot. Um, and it's weird because it feels like I know these people. Like they make me feel less alone in the world right now. And I know I'm not, but when you don't have anyone to talk to or to communicate with, then someone to tell you, hey girl, how you doing? Hey girl, I love you. Come here, let me give you a hug. You okay today? Y'all, I ain't had that in 3 years. Hmm. Can you imagine what it's like as a child to have these feelings and not know what they are? Like, I'm a grown woman, but because I don't get those things, it makes me feel a certain kind of way. Can you imagine what that does to a child? I don't remember it being done to me. I know it was, but I didn't look at it like that because I always felt for people. I always felt for them. Like, look what they going through. Like, I know, even as a kid, I saw their light. It wasn't until I was grown and in my late 20s that I realized what had happened, or just the tip of the iceberg. I didn't get to the iceberg until you know all hell broke loose, and I was seeing. So yeah, so I'm sitting here and I'm asking myself, why haven't you surrendered? Why haven't you surrendered? And I was watching this guy from Costa Rica and he was talking about um, the unknown, and he likened it to, remember when you first started elementary school after going, from kindergarten or going to first grade, and you didn't know the people and you didn't know the teacher, and it was the unknown. You remember how you felt? And he was given it as an example for for you to go into the unknown on your spiritual path. And he talks about narcissism a lot and how to recover and it's a real thing, y'all. It's a real travesty what the effects of narcissism does to one's psyche. And that's where I'm at now. Like when he gave that as an example, I didn't have none of those issues. I didn't have I was like psh, full steam ahead. For one, I didn't know about narcissism. For two, I was self-aware even then and believed in God even then. And so it was very hard. It was very hard for me to for somebody to get me to do anything that I didn't want to do. When I let the devil in that one aspect, it all hell broke loose. When I went against myself in that one aspect, all hell broke loose. So it was like, okay, God did give me a reprobate mind. But what happened is that there's always a time when God says, okay, I'm going to let you do what you feel you thought was best. But God always intervenes and brings you back. But when you got people interfering on another realm, in another dimension with your life, and you not knowing that realm existed, you believed, but you didn't know. But the moment you knew, it broke it. So there's a period that I'm recovering from, which is, oh my goodness, I'm recovering. I'm in recovery. But again, I always have my benchmark, my beginning. Because up until 30, no. What I didn't know was that it was in my subconscious. It was in my subconscious. And my subconscious was activated in my 30s. Plus, I had a reprobate mind. Plus, I had black magic being done on me. So it was like multiple confusion going on. I really see myself in Kanye West. I really need y'all to understand, and understand that. Because that's how people were trying to play me. He's not lying. He's telling the truth. It's coming out erratic because his mind is in confusion. He's having black magic done on him. I'm telling you what I know to be true. He's mimicking my situation. They're going to play him like he's crazy. They're going to play him like he's crazy. He's not crazy. When they try and play you like you're crazy, it's always a setup for something else. Just know he's not crazy. Because I see that's how my folks was trying to do me. And I'm not talking about just my family. I'm talking about everybody around me. Understand, overstand, and understand. God wiped the entirety, extended family, cousins, lovers, friends. But they undid themselves. I didn't do anything. I was me genuinely. And so when I realized and the veil was lifted and I saw everybody for who they were and what their intentions were, not for what I wanted them to be, but what they showed me and the things they said, but mainly and mostly the things they did not say. That's a lonely place. You're not going to help but feel alone. I feel utterly alone. And I know consciously and spiritually I am not alone. I know that. But humans need contact. It doesn't matter whether or not you're a baby or an adult. And so I'm dealing with insecurities I never even knew existed because I went full throttle in my life. There's not nothing that I wanted to achieve that I did not achieve. Which, hence, by the time I was 25 and bought my house, I was like, this just can't be it. You know? By then, I had lived what most would have considered to be the American dream. But there was no fulfillment. At 25, bought my first house, well over making almost six figures, literally by the 25. What the American dream was. I was dating a good guy at the time. And it was my first adult relationship since I was 19. So I had it going for me. But there was an emptiness. There was a feeling that I could not describe. Something was missing. And now that I know what it was, it's like, wow, okay. So this is like for the first time in my life where I'm feeling unsure of myself. Not in a way where I know I can't kill it when I need to or when I want to, but it's like when you become aware of the world, you're not going to move like you were moving back in the day. Like I scroll down my Instagram back to 2019, and the woman I saw then was such a still young, naive little girl. Like, you will never be the same. And I mourn for her. I do. I mourn for the innocence of that girl, that woman. She was so pure and so innocent back in 2019, y'all. Even last year. By then I was aware, so I was looking for red flags, but I was still loving. Like God had to show me multiple times who people were in order for me to even accept it. And there's some of y'all that be like, one time only. That's how I used to be when I was before. That's how I used to be. I didn't take none of that stuff. I didn't. Then I bumped into two narcissists, and one was a homegirl. That kind of rocked me. And it will rock you. I've posted videos about this because it questions you. You question you. Like, dang, how you know that? Well, you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it, right? So how you gonna hold yourself accountable? And as I'm telling you, I'm telling myself too. I gotta tell myself that. So, but surrender. And it clicked to me. Surrender means surrendering for me. It means accepting the pain, the emotional pain. Because think about it. I'm not just grieving, the last several years of my life. I'm actually grieving my entire life. My entire life. I didn't find out about narcissism and how deep it runs in my life until like the beginning of last year, guys. Yeah. I didn't know. So even while I was, going through the motions, I still didn't even know. I still hadn't even uncovered that part. And then when I uncovered that part, it was like, whoa. it was like, whoa, whoa. Like it's real deep. If you've clicked onto this channel, welcome. I thank you. I appreciate you. But if you have yet to look into what narcissism is, I would highly suggest you do so. Just on the strength of you, I don't know you, but on the strength of you clicking onto this channel, oh yes. Remember, everything is vibration and energy and frequency. And so, unless you are a karmic looking at my page, then I know how you love. I know how you used to see the world, and right now things are changing for you. And you don't understand, overstand, or understand why. And you could be on the same path and probably a lot further than I am. But something's going on, and you don't quite get what is going on, especially because you are in tune with yourself. And you are in tune with your spiritual gifts. But some other things is being revealed to you. Listen, the devil don't change you all of a sudden. That's what narcissisms do. They don't change you all of a sudden. They nick away at you. They chip away at you. One comment at a time. One love bomb and let down cycle at a time. One gaslight comment at a time. One demeaning comment at a time. One alienation from your family and friends at a time. That's how they work. They try and make you feel like you're crazy, but you're not crazy. And listen, this didn't start 15 years ago. My first time moving out of Georgia was at 25, and it was for the same reason I moved when I was in my 30s. And I was like, I kept asking people, why do I feel like this? I don't understand what's going on. And why they this and why they that? Now I have the answers to those questions, and it's shocking. It's like, okay, so where do I go from here? And this is where the surrender part comes in. And so this is the first time for me that things have been like, I love the unknown. I do. I do. Always have. The unknown has never scared me, shaken me, moved me. If anything, it just propelled me to even go further. But now it's different. I'm different. And I don't know what that looks like in this matrix. I just don't. I'm not scared of the unknown. I don't know how to even explain it. I don't. But I do know when they say surrender, it means to feel the pain. And in my last video, it dawned on me, because that's the second time I've said it, that I have to feel it in doses. I can't feel it all at one time. I have to feel it in doses. And 9 times out of 10, that's when I want to eat something or when I want to smoke something. So I'm learning myself too. I don't like pain, but I do know once I go through it, then, Because each time I allow myself it, and then like now, I feel better. But I don't know what that would feel like to feel it all at one time. That's 40 something years. So, hmm, yeah, that's a lot. Especially when you haven't grieved for things that should have been you should have been allowed to grieve for, or grieve for things that you should have been grieving for and didn't know it. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot. I mean, listen, when you realize that your whole life was a lie and your whole life you were, it's crazy. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. But real life. They always say the truth is stranger than fiction, and they are so absolutely right. They really are. They really are. The truth is stranger than fiction, y'all. It really is. Lessons in my confessions. Put down burdens that don't belong to you. Let people handle their own problems that they create, especially if you've been doing it for quite some time. You don't have to step out the way and let God handle them. And secondly, surrender to the pain. Now, that's a part that I have yet to do, so I'm working on that part. And basically surrender to the emotions, because it feels like pain, but really it's what? Sadness. It's sadness. But the trick is to feel it, but not get engulfed in it, not get succumbed, not get enveloped, not get sucked in. Because if you allow it to get you to get sucked in by it and stuck in it, that's when it becomes depression. And so I listened to some music today. I normally would dance, but I didn't feel like dancing, but I did, after I made the video, actually. I went ahead and